operating, this is what, by law, should be operating. Are we clear?
Clear.
Take other synonyms, put it here. Take other synonyms, put it there for comparison. Use your reasoning power. Try to get out of this and get back over here. You can call this, in the dogmatic format, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. That's what that, you can put it that way. Or seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all other things will be added unto you. It's an estate. Are we clear? That's why I wanted you to read the divine warning by the prophet for the nations, to put it in context of the real politics. Because if you look at the history of the movement, you'll see correlations in time. And recognize they weren't coincidental. At all. Not at all. And so now, look at what's happening. I had to do 2 lectures at Stanley University in Sacramento. And I went to this community center in Los Angeles and in Long Beach, right? They were in the mainstream media, they were telling the news, talking about there was a strike out there. Keep in mind, for those who don't know, Long Beach Port and Los Angeles Port are the 2 largest import ports in North America. Are we clear? That's Long Beach and Los Angeles. And you can see ships lying way out there, but they weren't in the port. And they said because it's a strike. Right? Well, Chinese brother told me, he says, no, they're not accepting them T-bonds. And so what was happening is that you had ships out there with containers of last Christmases, stuff that was supposed to be in Macy's and Kmart and Walmart and stuff like this. So what they've been doing is they've been closing certain stores, moving stock to other stores to make it, because it's so vast, to make it look like things are cool. It's running out now, and so they can't play the shell game as much, so they have to negotiate in the background. That's what's going on. Now, and this is back to what we were talking about earlier, trade windows. Trade windows. Trade windows. Keep this in mind, and then we'll just start talking in general. The derivatives that you hear them talking about, or quantitative easing, is compound counterfeiting on existing counterfeit.
Wow.
And selling it.
Wow.
While the masses are under the illusion still that they're dealing with money, which keeps them questionable but somewhat safe. It's unstable now, but their blind faith is really what keeps this system going. Are we clear? However, Asiatic nations, including the true American states, and that's called the mint nations. The other Asiatics are called the brick nations. This includes, just on that side, over 182 nation states. And the true American states under the OAS have gotten together to join forces with them. Although they're still being infiltrated, they're still being undermined. They're called the mint nations, the true Americans, in support of what Drew Ali said. The agreement is they can't beat the beast because everything they did is a war machine. Unum sanctum, scorched earth. Embrace. In other words, befriend you. You can get hold of this QSIC number if you sign this contract here, and then they stick you in your back. Next, and you really, and stick you in the back. Now they're doing it even to their allies. Number 1 ally, Germany. Number 1. They already know this BS is going on. See, because they're all part of this thing. So they send some diplomats to the land of Nod. check out their gold. Come check out our gold. Do smart. Right? They told them go take a hike. What do you mean? We boys, so we know. Take a hike. So they really pissed now, right? Then 2 months later, they drop the buildings, steal the gold, drop the buildings, and say Muslims did it with box cutters. Then they go into Iraq. That's what it's all about. They stole Germany's gold and other people's gold too. Because remember, the Manchurian Masons and others are dumping them T-bombs. They have to go to different other nation states and store them in warehouses and cycle them back to the Federal Reserve. It's becoming too big to do. Because no one's buying them anymore. Because the rest of the civilized world are taking over the trade windows. But understand what's happening. They can do all the fiat derivatives they want to. And then the people who've been selling you the game, see what you're going to do, man. You're going to get hold of this QSIC number and get control of this global world trust with a QSIC number. And get your hand into this bottomless pit account. They're buying time, you buy into that. They're not even acknowledging their closest allies. What makes you think they're playing you honorably? That's aside from the fact that you got to be holder in due course. So you got to know what that really means when you're saying that. You ain't got no original nothing. The only thing you got original that has any claim whatsoever is your nationality card.
That's right.
It's right or wrong? And only under that status can you even call them to breach. Because it's an estate. And if you start talking money, you're already incompetent. And you start talking about, I'm holder in due course. I captured this and authenticate. You ain't authenticating nothing. You didn't create it.
Oh, say that again.
Oh, please.
This is mine. You did? Oh, do you mean that? Well, no, but you know, see, I got interest in. Is that your sandwich? Well, yeah, well, it ain't exactly, but it. No, you ain't holder in due course. What? You don't understand. See, but it sounds like my name. Oh, that's your name? Well, yes, but no. Well, which one are you talking about? You either the holder in due course or you're not. But see, but I authenticated it. Oh, you authorized it. Now you have no future suit. You just been played. You just been played, dummy. You know, and if they understood the state law, they would figure this out themselves, but they want the taffy. They want the benefit without helping their brothers and sisters. I got the process now, see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Give me $1,500 and I'll show you the first step. Show you the second step.
No.
And they run you around in a circle for 3 or 4 years. And the same problem you started with still exists. And they're still coming for your estate. Because they're liquidating everybody's estate. Now the Manchurian told them, no more shells. And the Russians said, no more shells. They said, well, we're going to print some more derivatives because we got control in the press. Well, they say, all right, then we'll control the trade windows. So it doesn't matter how many you print. Nobody's buying them. See how long it lasts. Oh, we want to knock a few of you off, you know. When we do those things, we make people disappear. Well, we know that. This is the agreement. Take 1, we take 10. And compound it for every next one. See who lasts. Agreed. They got planners, they got Knights Templars, they got Knights of Malta, etc. But the Manchurians alone got over 20 million perfected assassins, from which they took a pool of 6.5 million, just short of 7 million, that they put out on the plane a couple years ago, so people started taking flying lessons. Damn, I got my parachute again. Ow!
That's commonplace for everybody.
They building houses and stuff. I missed. got cathedral ceiling garage, right? Right? He was having such a good time mowing his lawn, he decided to hang himself. No chair, no curtains. How did he get up there? No chair. Letters written in cruciform. I like that. Right? Bankers having dinner with his wife in Manhattan. I think was the head of Comex. What was Friday and Monday? London and then New York, the head of both, Comex on both sides. The other one was enjoying the view. I never noticed that it was that far down. Hey, Fred! Yo, Fred! Oh, he doesn't hear me. Fred! Oh, shit. Now this boy, Friday, the next Friday in London, he decided to do the same thing. They're both the head of Comex. That's the head of their communications for these derivatives. Supermarket. So now that breaks the head of the network, doesn't it? So now in between, now some of the people on this side start getting rid of middlemen because they know too much. So now you got 34, 35 so-called bankers that they admit to that couldn't be hidden from the public. They were all suicides. All of them suicides. With assistance. Anyway. Now, it's accelerated. They know they're in trouble. To cover it up, they call it quantitative easing for people who don't know this history. So quantitative easing means they're printing counterfeit on top of the counterfeit, upon the counterfeit. And so what they've done is close some factories, so making some cars, they're making printing machines with tungsten gears because they're wearing out, because they're running hot, air-cooled and water-cooled, and they're just 24/7. Meanwhile, Iraq and a couple of nation states, including some of their allies, decide to do the same thing. So now they can't sell these bonds, so now they implore Germany and Japan, which are vassal states, to give up their federal employees' savings funds. And they said, no, we're not. So they put a bomb, drilled a bomb on the edge of Japan, and they had a tsunami. Then they wanted a gold contract in 80. They didn't go along with it. They put a bomb on the edge of 80. And that's what happened. They were not tsunamis, they were bombs. So the rest of the civilized world say, oh, you want to play that, huh? So now they're controlling the trade windows. No one's accepting UST bonds. This is why a couple years ago, I think it was a year and a half ago, for those of you who were in this area, when you seen them two oil ships up here near Sun in Philadelphia, and they were sitting there for months, they didn't offset the oil, drip, 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 drip. Then what occurred is, then in Paris and in Switzerland, they stole the Saudis' gold. It was another ally. Now remember with Nixon in 71. Notice that these numbers. Numbers. 1971. 1971. 1971. They imposed upon them to cause the other nation states to convert their currency to the U.S. debt note, and they called that a petrodollar. So what they did, they started pumping oil anyway, and then reducing the price to counter the fracking here in Pennsylvania and all around and in the West, which they started doing. All right? Then they started this thing in Crimea to stop the pipeline coming from Iraq to the port. Then they had the fake people, the fake Jews, go Palestine because they discover another large body of oil in the area of Palestine that they didn't take. Then they bomb the pipelines from Crimea. That's what that war is over there, about to stop the lines from Russia to Eastern Europe countries, which would broke it even further. So what they did, they dropped the price again, so it kills the stock, the oil stocks. So the high price of so-called gas that was like $4 something, now $2.15, and for a while past year, it came down as low as $1.11. Remember what I took you? Then I went to $1.99. So what happens, it costs more for them to produce it. It was being sold for less than the cost to produce it. Guaranteed break the stock. So they artificially jumped the stock market bookkeeping to get people to reinvest, and then they steal that finance. Well, they ran out of options. So now they're stealing people's accounts. So now anyone and everybody got anything that's property, they're going after it, whether you're allegedly paid up or not. What you think is paid up. Give Sister Mike. Now, that's where you don't understand the politics. It means that you can put the other puzzles together and look at it yourself, and you can see it, but look at it differently than what they're telling you. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Look at it differently than what they're telling you.
Is this the same situation that Trump is on? Trying to bomb Iran?
Trump, as a matter of fact, I was talking about this morning. Let's first talk about some things that's interesting about Trump. One thing, they're not used to Trump because he's honest. People are not used to honesty. He'll tell you, you think you're cute, but that's really a boogie coming out your nose. How dare him say that? He's insulting the nose people. You know, well, you do have a boogie in your nose. You're at the prom and stuff. And that Nike, you don't exactly go with that Adidas with the heels, you know, so you're not, I don't think we're going to the prom and stop at Foreman Mills and hook you up. Anyway, this is what's happening. Trump and Hillary are both owned by the Jesuits, so let's not get that cut. My thoughts are, this is my personal thoughts, so don't take it, you know, as gospel, but do a little bit of research analysis. Trump is a Knight Templar, and he's a Mason. Go back in history and think about the setup that the popes of Rome did with the Knights Templars that caused them to run to the north around 1857 and hide under masonry in North America. So they got an old axe to bear. I'm just looking, I look at motive, I kind of look behind things, I don't exactly look at surface. Plus I look at things, I know it's kind of weird, because I am out to lunch, so get used to it already. I kind of look at naturally, this is how I see. You see this, I don't really look like that. In my own self, really, I kind of have eyes here and here, and I look at things kind of weirdly. If I kind of explain to you, you think I'm out to lunch, but that's how I see things. I always saw things that way. I didn't admit to it till I got older. I used to suppress that in my own mind when I was younger, because I could see things. And you say too many things, people start getting scared of you and think you're out to lunch. Even if you are out to lunch, because I am out to lunch. So that ain't the issue. But I see things. Like if I read, like if I get a book where people read like this, in my mind, it's like letters floating on water. And I dive in, and I come from the backside. I read from the backside. That's what I always did. So if I get a book somebody's reading like this, in my mind, I go in it because I'm not really kind of reading it. I go behind it and I take on the spirit of the writer. I look at what he's really trying to say, and then I start looking at, oh, he was really saying this, but he's trying to play it safe. That's what I look at. Then I come back out, and then I say it. And that's how I write. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So I see differently. But as I grew older, I recognized that's not how people look. I thought that's how people. You know how like when you're young, you're growing up, you have little imaginary things that you do, and that's how I always viewed it. But I recognized that as I was getting older, when I used to say things to my parents or friends or something like that, when people come around. But my father was a barber, and he was an avid reader. That's why I came and have a reading. And I would say things like, for instance, when I was young, what I called young was the haze. And I could look at persons and tell when the person's near death, and then I tell them not to go someplace or not to do things. And then things would happen. Then people look at me like, and I didn't understand that. And then after a while, I start shutting down. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'd only talk to my father or my mother. Because people, well, what the hell? I mean, I can understand it now. I didn't understand it then. But it was always getting me in trouble. Same thing with school. They tell me one thing, I tell them nothing. I'm out of class. And I didn't understand it. I really didn't. You know, and then as I came into different organizations, as I grew up, always got in trouble. They tell me one thing, and then no, that's not what you mean. This is what you mean. Oh, we can't use you. And they give me a position to try to control me, and that's why I get tired of it, I leave. Which is why I founded the round table, because I couldn't be encompassed in any of them. So I could talk and wouldn't be under their jurisdiction. This is also why I separated books. Already knowing the plot today, so what I would do, I'd go up and then look back, which many of you already do, and see what they're doing. I already know they control the institutions. I ain't got no fiat. But I got this. And then I'd write something and set them up. And then watch them play the game, misrepresent, and come out and put the next half out. This is why I put the books out of sequence. But that's on something I always did when I was a child. But that's my thing. So I know that I'm out to lunch, and I don't deny it. You understand what I'm saying to you? But I already know I'm going to kick Rome's ass. I knew that. Excuse the language. You know, so if they write something, you fool the baker, you ain't fooling me. I ain't got no power, and you can kick my butt. You can take everything, but you can't buy me. Because I already know when I came on this side, I already knew then that I'm talking too much. But I already knew that I had the limit. And I was already warned. I already knew. But I also have that heart to the surface problem by connecting. Warned not to.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And I get beat up all the time doing that. So sometimes I have to cut off and go back by myself. Cut off all relationships. That's my weakness.
You were giving your opinion about Trump's intentions.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying I'm talking to. I'm going to talk in other parts. But I already know where is it. This is what he's doing. Trump has to present to the world the rooster chest of the Jesuit operations that has really been deflated. And he has to satisfy them while in the background maintaining some semblance of self-integrity of his own ego, man, while making deals on another end of against his original intention, even alienating publicly a lot of representatives of allies in other nation states to prepare the people for what's going to smack them anyway, which means they're going to be isolated. They're already isolated.
Yeah.
However, it is not manifest to such a level where the common people who have been supporting all these paradigms can feel comfortable. What they're avoiding is Joe Blow, middle-class Bolaski,
That's right. Billy Bob. That's right.
who already knows it, and is really not into oodles and noodles, which is like hors d'oeuvres to us, like TSAT. I say, D, you got some oodles of new deals? D said, I don't know, I got some over here. Stop at the store on your way in. No, stop. Yes, is it Chinese brothers and sisters? We get the ones they eat, not the ones that they saw everywhere else. We get the real oodles and noodles. Real ones. So D chops them up in vegetables and stuff, hooks them up. That'd be cool, boy. I work down with them. Now, Europeans ain't too hot with that. They're into the filet mignon, you know, like I used to work at first order cook at Jimmy Penrose years ago, right? Right off exit 4, Jersey Turnpike. Europeans come there, filet mignon and with lobster sauce and lobster stuff. Is Taj in the kitchen? They be sending 25 and 30 new deposit, you know, because like when you cook, after a while the restaurant becomes you.
That's true.
They'll compensate you well, but you have no life. Go to work in the dark, come home in the dark. Go to work in the dark, come home in the dark. Europeans come there, and you ain't there, they're mad. No, really, they lose finance. Anyway, I quit that, but the deal of it is, the Europeans ain't too good with the oodles and noodle things. You know, we can do the, you know, the veggie crackers and oodles and noodles, you know, sprinkle some sardines on it like that.
Is that what we call it?
I'm serious. It's like, I'm not joking. Europeans like,
Can't struggle.
oh Christ no, oh Lordy. They start drowning goldfish in their tanks, and they do. They don't feed the dog. You know, people notice that. I didn't know you were into taxidermy. Damn, that looks real. That's my aunt. Me. They do strange stuff. And we're talking serious. That's what they know. You can take these Asiatics, you know, they be talking about God and country, and they only love Jesus and Allah and Prophet Muhammad and everything. They don't fear the Lord and stuff. You can kick their babies in the ground, do the Rodney King, and all that stuff. They'll march and pray. You ain't doing that with Europeans. They will get their rod, their staff, and start comforting people. They do. Kill everything. Kill the kill after they kill the kill. And then do the Jeffrey Dahmer type thing. You wonder why people get double whoppers and stuff. You test them burgers, I guarantee they got human DNA. Now that's like real. Anyway, the humor's over. That's what Trump is really doing. He's pacifying the people, pacifying nation states, knowing that he's the spokesman for a bankrupt entity that is not allowed to and will not be allowed to reassemble
That's right.
However, by default of operations and compromisions of nation states around the world, they have to find a platform by which the dissolution and the conversion of monetary value under the claim of gold and silver backing, but yet, in fact, another fiat entry. There will be no gold and silver real backed. What it is, it will be still based in a fiat principle, but will be backed internationally with true honor, with some backup. Whereas, as I told you earlier, international law platform has no legislative construct, whereas your local governments have a legislature. That has been a weakness. To save themselves, they've been reluctant, and so they're going to have to name the heirs. If you go back, and I may be, because I multi-do things. This is another one of my problems. I'm just being honest. I can't do one thing and be at peace. I have to be thinking multiple things at one time in order to pacify my mind. It requires multiple things. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I have to look at TV, be on the computer, listen to the radio, and be writing. And then be thinking on something that I'm going to do, and I have to do them all. If I'm doing one, I get bored, I get sleepy. The only way I can get away from this, I can go sleep. But then I astral travel immediately. So I can't get away from that. So I try to find a way to make it useful. It's fine, go, bro.
You said they had to identify the heirs. Why?
So we can take our
Correct
money.
me if I'm wrong. If anyone heard, Bundes, were you listening to when Trump made his speech? His first inauguration speech?
Absolutely not.
Now, go back, because it's public, and because I usually don't revert. I usually don't revert. And that's a habit, not a good one necessarily. And it's sort of like a self-safety habit I used to use when I was young, is not to judge or not to contaminate. And so I don't revert.
Gotcha.
You know, so I don't interject my bias. I consciously try to do that. I'm not always successful, but I try not to. So what it is what it is. And then I move on to something else. You understand?
I definitely understand, yeah.
Particularly when I already understand conversions on. I already know it's on. Right? Regardless of what people say. I already know it's on because I already seen it, 3 years ago. Right? And the reason that Hillary's not in, not because he wasn't supposed, it was already set he was in. The Manchurian said no. The Manchurian said no is even why Obama got the second term. He was assigned to kill the credibility of the corporate platform. In secret, he's working with the Manchurians too. Now, it's true. All right. Do this and tell me. When Trump made that speech, inauguration speech, and he brought up the issue of the flag, I may have missed it, but I wouldn't go back and see it. He said the red flag. He didn't say the red, black, white, and blue. I caught it. But I didn't revert.
I'm
Right
sorry,
now,
can
so
you repeat
y'all
that?
go look at it and tell me later if it's true.
Can you repeat what you just said? My bad.
When Trump made his inauguration speech and he mentioned the flag, he didn't say the red, white, and blue. He said the red flag, and he continued in his.
I did hear somebody
Yeah, I saw
repeat
that.
that.
The red tie. How many people knew what
He
that
said the
meant?
red flag. He didn't say the red, white, and blue.
He did say red flag.
Now, I'm just
Oh, he did.
now. All right.
Yeah, more's been
Now
repeated.
I already know that he is spokesman for the conversion. All right. Which is why also the week before were here when I went into the reversion argument, and I had y'all read the reversionary statement and told you to use it in any instance, which we talked about. All right. That's why, but that was from thoughts from before, from a couple of years ago, which is why I modified that statement. All right, and that was an issue of timing. It wasn't, it had no other it served no other purpose. It was timing, because I know what they're doing. I know what they're doing, and
So somebody said, not that it wasn't, somebody said that he also had said American flag and did not say United States of America.
yeah, because that is the American flag. You know, I mean, and now, and so
Business commerce.
I'm looking at, just keep this in mind, and then think for yourself. Think what you feel. What you feel is probably what the answer is. The first thought, if you learn to trust yourself. The first thing that comes in your mind, if you remove your own biases, knowing that we're biased. As long as you're here like this, your battle is understanding that you're minimally two people, right? And understand that this one is always trying to run the show. But also understand in the light and the energy that we're in is that the spirit man is coming to the top, and then there's a little bit of resistance. So you have to kind of, without being either arrogant or self-pity, because both those things will come into play, feeling sorry for yourself. Because I already know what I'm telling you. All right, I already know it. Get over it. But don't be cold.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And listen to that first voice. Always tells you the truth. Learn to trust it. Transition is made, conversion is being reversed. They're trying not to get killed
That's what it is.
while they're plotting to kill. And then discovering there's another plan that was already in place to counter them because someone already stepped ahead, which they thought didn't know that transition game. I mean, they think that they're the only ones that dimensionally step, to keep it simple, and are quickly discovering that just because everybody doesn't talk doesn't mean that you should underestimate them. So they're the only game in town and discover that they're not. And not only are they not,
That's right.
however, those who they underestimated are not 2 steps ahead, maybe 5 or 6. So their ego is kind of not busted, obliterated.
Yeah. That's the better way.
Meanwhile, they have what you call momentum. Now, the momentum is that all of the major institutions of the world have been under their control. And they're trying to use it the best they can while transition is being made, or reconversion is being made. That's a good word for it. You'll discover that it's good if you don't know it already. I think that's a good word. Reconversion is being made. Reason is put on the platform to limit what is not avoidable, which is chaos, because it's not in anyone's interest. Trump's job is to calm the cows while they get a big needle. And those who've been interested or comfortable with this platform for all these generations need to look for mercy right now.
Yeah.
And the ones who they've been abusing has to pay the scales of Libra. Hopefully that we're merciful. But we've been instructed. You gotta remember, you've been instructed already. When you get back in power, treat the European nice. Because you got in this position
Exactly.
Because
Come on.
because you violated your own lawsuit.
Teach him.
Don't come like you're innocent. Doesn't mean lay down and be a carpet. But don't come self-pitying and like you're innocent. Nevertheless, want for your brothers and sisters what you would want for yourself. And that is all the law. And keep that in mind. So Trump's job is to calm the masses, because a lot of people not going to get a haircut, they're going to get a head cut.
That's right.
Yes. And they're trying to make this transition without making this stuff really, totally, openly public.
Right.
But it is.
But it's going to get to the surface where it no longer can be hidden.
Right.
Are we clear? There has to be, from amongst you all, some champions produced by women who know this. They will be called stargates. The women, the few, who produce the champions. Most of the champions have already been produced.
That's true.
Although they'll bring a few more. They'll bring a few more because a couple of them have already been taken. There'll be a few more, but this is for sure. Rome will not win.
Oh, victory's assured.
Rome will not win. It's over. However, mercy is deceit. And this is what they seek. And I suggest that this is really what Pope Francis is taking. Now, what you're going to see and what's going on is going to come out more and more openly. Nobody wants to be king no more. Well, we want you to run another term. No, I don't think so.
Right.
I'm not feeling it, really. You don't want to be king again? King Bosmark Dinkle? I got a headache. Everything but, I mean, that nobody's going to want to rule no more. It's going to confuse the public because that's what they're looking for. It's going to become obvious. Meanwhile, because this operation here has been since then the administrating of the Global World Trust that was set up actually after the Red House fell. And all of your politics is based in that. It's not that there's other things that haven't been happening. All of your world's politics is based on the fall of the Red House since 1492. This is a culmination of a contemporary act on the unum sanctum policy. Except now they'll call it doctrine of discovery. Still unum sanctum. Do you understand? So what you see right now is the rest of the civilized world telling them no more shells. Lincoln bankrupted one of the shells. Drew Ali bankrupted two of them. And thereafter, they set up another one with Franklin Delano Roosevelt. That one bankrupted, I think, in September 12th. Is that, Mr. Rand, is that correct?
Yeah, what? The last
The
time
last shell, Puerto Rico.
I think that was like 2012,
Yeah.
13.
Now, and in 215, 214, now tell me if I'm correct, because I don't want to say something wrong, but I'm peripheral.
Right?
Francis dissolved the platform altogether so that they couldn't do anything more.
True indeed. True indeed.
Yes.
Now, but
In
remember,
other words, the Manchurians already told them no more shells. The Russians told them no more shells. The Pope eliminated altogether the platform. In other words, the platform, any operations, any effort, any documentation to reestablish another shell is done.
yeah,
This is where the civil war is going on with them on the down low.
right.
And Trump's job is to mitigate that for the public, to artfully do the dog and pony show while in the background the furniture is being taken out of the house.
Absolutely.
If you get the point.
I think think it also.
Give me the mic, because I want this on the mic, please.
Yeah, I think.
Peace, man. I think it was multiple events that happened all around the same time that undisputably showed that the UDOT was a corporation. Because if you remember, they closed down everything national for like a day or two.
Oh, yeah.
So-called government closed.
Yeah.
Remember
And then
that?
they turned the lights out, the electricity out in Can for 3 days straight.
Yes, that was all in the same time frame, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yeah.
Pope did the motu proprio thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it showed its face already,
Mhm.
beyond reasonable doubt, because only corporations close for business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know that.
So over a debt though.
Yeah. Now,
Over a
now
debt.
look at this. Now, hold on, because I want you to add to this as necessary. And jump into Mateo, because you always have some offer, and usually, what y'all know, I already know, but they may not know. He always drops jewels on us in between, because if he's sitting there, you be smelling smoke, right? So you gotta give him the mic, throw something in. But this is the deal. And to expand really on what you're saying. To say it's a corporation is not satisfactory.
Okay, I mean, all right.
It is a duplication of the corporation that Lincoln bankrupted in 1860. And the conversion of the debt of that bankrupted United States corporation in France. And all sequential legislation and color of operation since then has this one function: to convert the debt of that private foreign corporate entity that was originally in place to do the service contracts, that has been impersonated as a government legitimate under the Republic, and at the same time as a nation state since 1871. And the concept or misconcept of that fake pseudo-reality is the concept of mind that the masses are under today, which is why they keep calling America a country, the United States a country, and they're operating from that perspective. The motive of that dynamics, or that shadow, impostorship, is to convert that debt of 1860 onto the back of the heirs of the treaty and the Constitution, which are the Moors, which is where the Census Bureau under Carlos Linnaeus and Frederick Johann Blumenbach with the phenotypes, do the non-Beguer, and the Moors, they're called Negroes, black-colored Indians, and then their leaders are paid off to promote that as Afrocentricity. And then when they accept it, they lose their estate because now they're not descendable. And that has worked over and over again. Problem, Manchurians and others have stepped in. So now you got some of them circling the wagons. And what got people uncomfortable, and they haven't figured it out, some of them are running at the same time. Do you understand? So keep it in mind. So when you say it's a corporation, no. It's that corporation that Lincoln bankrupted in 1860, recreated in shell corporations 3 times, and the rest of the world said, no more U.S. corporate shells. So it's not that it is a corporation, it's that corporation.
Got you. So just to take what you're saying for an example, if we look at the first decade of this 21st century, a lot of banks switched their names, i.e. Wachovia is now Wells Fargo. TD Bank used to be Commerce Bank. Same thing.
You see Santander?
Right.
That weird one, yeah. Santander?
Yeah. So it's the same operation, it just changed name change. Name correction.
Name correction. They did a name
So
correction
now we
too.
don't know the origin.
Look at what's happening.
Different.
Look at what you know. What is it that you know in what you just said that most people ain't caught? The Manchurians are probably, if you look at the way things move, controlling Wells Fargo. Because they just fired about 10,000.
Yeah, yeah. And the dude, Stone, who Morris had a big beef with on the record, he's not in position anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
See, that's that negotiations that's going on in the background.
Yeah. He just lost that position or retire or back down. Like around maybe right after, sometime between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice.
And everything according to Circle 7.
For sure.
Including Rahm Emanuel's issuance. First full day of the winter solstice, right, Ross?
Oh, yeah.
22nd.
Yeah.
First full solid day.
And it was a blood moon, and it was great. But they always come they always collect on the equinoxes. That's the session of the popes right there. That the popes always come
Yeah,
and
give
collect.
her the mic so she's on.
No.
And then give Montiel
No,
the mic.
give it to Montiel.
We got to take advantage of the moment.
Yeah, give it to him.
Look, you don't have to sing. We know you can sing. Notice how she's doing
I
like
sang my last
Wait a
song
minute.
a long time ago.
Miss Raymond.
Last year.
But wait a
No.
minute.
Statue of Liberty style.
I'm a Statue of Liberty.
Don't start singing now.
No, seriously though. I was saying they always come and collect from the what's it called the cessation of the popes?
Concession of England to the Pope.
Concession of
13.
England to the popes 1213, right? So you talk right? That's a while ago. They always collect on the fall on the equinox.
Yeah.
It's just that this time they really. He came to me. Now correct me if I'm wrong. What did he do? He came to me, the Pope, and gave up the ghost. He's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, like that little boy said, why is 6 scared of 7? Because 7, 8, 9.
That's what's up. So can I ask a question? No, I want to ask a question. I want it to be answered by one of you. Because the brother sat there, and I don't think he got his answer yet. Why do people have to declare their nationality? Why are they waiting? Did you say that? Well, maybe I got the wrong brother. You said, why are they
Why do they have to be identified?
identified?
If the
Identified.
Because the heirs must be identified.
I see that. Right. That's what he said.
why?
Look, listen, because this is very important.
Yeah, he has an extra one.
And this is back to where a lot of Europeans have been caught. They've been telling the truth, a lot of them, because the middle class has been dissolved. They've been thrown under the bus.
Absolutely.
They can no longer blame it and say them other non-Americans and Mexicans and everybody taking our jobs and stuff like that. They can't start that stuff from because it's so obvious that they've been thrown on the bus. So now they're talking about the real republic, the peace flag, vertical bars, stuff that we know in the attic chamber in the temples that everybody was laughing at, thinking Drawley made this stuff up.
Yeah.
The cases that Lincoln did and other cases that are coming out with the distinction between Moors and Negroes type thing, So now that's exposing all their COINTELPRO black leaders who keep on arguing this black thing. So now they're unsafe. So any platforms that they've been using that have been credible are losing credibility by the bucketsful.
Well, I
and
do
it's
want
only
to
a
say
matter
this.
of time that the people they've been raping start choking them.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah, I
Literally.
I
I want
wanted
to
to say-
give him the mic. He ain't getting off either.
I wanted to say that
Go ahead.
no, go ahead, man. Well, let me
Go
just add this. It's interesting that you're seeing that it's now coming out, but it's always been there. I had put on the site on RV Bay Publications a handwritten.
As an addendum, because I had to do the Morris talk a few weeks ago, because I haven't been on there for a while. And it's another reason why a lot of people have been attacking RV Bay.
I don't know.
No, I'm talking about, critiquing, when that's one of the best education sites in the country for anyone to get educated, period, in Moorish culture, in history, etc. No, it's partly jealousy,
It is.
envy, and COINTELPRO operation.
Same
But you already know that. What but listen.
Same folks, I'm
The
sorry.
counter move is because what happens is that even while things are what you call a little rumble, it's like the steamroller of truth. It tears down the foundations of institutions that was like this, and all of a sudden they're like,
Peeling off the wall.
Yeah, they gotta go.
you know,
Let's see.
Book of Daniel,
Exposure.
Tales from the crypt.
chest of
What
iron,
it is
legs
spiritually.
of iron, feet of clay, foundations weak.
Yeah, hit the head with a dynamic.
Yeah, right.
But see, what it is spiritually, I said, well, I always said, how does anyone find to slander a publication company?
Right.
I was like, this is absolute sickness to think that.
It's not sickness.
So,
It's
well,
co-intellectual operation
I know,
because
yeah, it had to
it's
be that
bigger.
too.
Remember what we talked about years ago. This is what we
I know,
talked about.
but let me,
Go ahead,
just
say
say
what you're
this.
saying.
Let me just say this
No, say
spiritually.
what you're saying,
Yeah,
then go back.
all right.
About 10 years, wait a minute, go back 10 years or so, in the living room, me, you, Barbara, and a few others, and we talked. And we talked about the future,
And Vinland,
about where you would be here.
you talk about way
Concept.
in Vineland.
When we were in
I
Vineland,
do remember that.
remember our conversation. You gotta go back.
All right, you want me to talk? 'Cause I
Then
didn't
go,
know.
now come back.
All right,
All right, now
full
go ahead.
circle.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you this. It was like this, and this is to everybody here. So you're entering into this arena, huh? You're coming into this information, huh? Well, you better watch every spirit that walks in the room. You better look at people and look at their soul. Because the body is just a cloak to carry the soul. So when you go out here and you have all these ideals and none of us, myself included, have not studied enough to know what we're really dealing with this great information, and we allow spirits to come around us that are counterfeit and or contemplative spirit. Contemptible spirits, or counterfeit spirits, or some are contemptible and counterfeit spirits. And if you don't know how to recognize it, you're in trouble. And so if you say to me that you're going out and you're going to be uplifting fallen, a missionary
Come on now.
to uplift fallen humanity, and you can't recognize fallen humanity when you see it. Yo, who? I heard somebody say, what? That's right. Made the church say amen type thing right there. And then start complaining about the people who did some damage that you think did damage, and they're the ones that are the fallen humanity, but we can't recognize
Come
it.
on now.
All right, so I will say this. All of this slander that's been going on, you know, at first, you know, where I'm like, what the heck is this? You know, these are the days of exposure. Everybody must show their head.
Exactly.
Everybody must expose. They're going to raise their head, be it an ugly head or an ugly head. Now let me say this. The scimitar, if you study the prophet's work, you like the one old Damascus had? That is a scimitar.
Damocles sword.
It is in such a manner that it's like a pendulum. When all you're looking at right now is a pendulum comes back this way, right? So the reason why all of a sudden, like in a cluster, like all of this slander, like boom, boom, left, right, all over the place, is because the people have to show their heads. So when the sword comes back, it can cut it off. Because there's no time for anything other than that. Yes, son, I see you want something to say. And that's what it is, and I had to resolve myself in understanding that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's a good time. It's a good time for
What do we talk
everybody.
about?
It's a good time for everybody.
What do we talk
It's a
about?
great time
This
for
is
more.
what we talk about.
It's a great time for more.
This is what we talk about.
Beautiful time.
And I say,
Right?
do not take it personal. Do not get caught up in personalities because they're shedding.
And it's true.
They're shedding. This is where you don't get burned, and when you do, you're able to